How's it going? Welcome to another edition of Platter Chatter, the music review show. The show that takes a critical, analytical look at music that's on the cutting edge of today's music scene. My name's Scott Goldfine, music critic for Sound and Radio.
And I'm Malissia Simpson. It's very nice to see you today. Scott, we've got some great music on our show today.
Yes, we do. I'm glad you tuned in, and I hope you'll stay tuned in. To kick it off, we're going to listen to the brand new one from Anita Baker, and it's called Giving You the Best That I Got.
And we're also going to be hearing from Cameo. They've got a new album out. It's called Machismo.
That's right. Going to get a little funky with Cameo in between there. And to close it all up, we're going to listen to Johnny Winter, the albino bluesman, his new one, Winter of '88.
So, without further ado, we're going to go to the first cut off of Anita Baker's new album. It's called Giving You the Best That I Got. We're going to listen to the title track. Anita Baker was 12 years old when she started singing, and it seems like this new album of hers is going to be a big hit again, so let's listen to it. Giving You the Best That I Got. And that was Anita Baker. That was the title track you heard off of her new album called Giving You the Best That I Got. What do you think about this?
Well, it's certainly evident it's Anita Baker. It is the single off the album. The album has catapulted into the top 5 on the pop chart, surpassing already her previous album, Rapture, which sold about 4 million copies and earned her great recognition and also awards.
Now, this is her third album, is that right?
This is her third solo album. Anita Baker started out with the group Chapter 8 in the late 70s, and she had a moderate hit with them, an R&B hit, called I Just Want to Be Your Girl. Then she got on her own on a private label and did the album Songstress, which was also very good, same vein. She hasn't, you know, gone off the path the whole career.
Well, you know, it's interesting. The kind of music that she does, I think, is not only appealing to an older market, but it kind of appeals to the baby boomers. They're getting older, but also a younger audience, you know, in their 20s and middle to late teens. I find that very interesting.
Well, certainly the yuppies and the upper middle classes and those types have come to embrace her. You know, she works in a variety of musical formats almost across the board, and her vocals style is very unique. No one sounds quite like her.
No, that's true. And her concerts are very down-to-earth, very basic, you know, but she doesn't do a lot of frills. She just really gets into the music.
Oh, she's au naturel.
Yes. So, we're going to hear the next cut off of her album, and it's called Good Enough. This is Anita Baker.
But the best that I can offer is love true. Still I know you wonder why this love of mine seems to die, as if I live in the clouds and live in the sea. Now you can bet your bottom dollar that I love you. Now for a basic fact like that, you need your proof. I just hope you think I'm good enough. I hope you think
Okay, we're back in studio listening to Anita Baker, and that track, very jazzy, kind of a samba type rhythm to it. And I think the highlight of the album, because it's more jazzy, you know, she hints at jazz in other areas, but she doesn't necessarily launch herself into that improvisational type of scat singing that I think she's very, you know, suited for.
Well, you know, I think she's very much the cabaret singer, and cabarets, of course, are becoming very big again. You know, you go to a nightclub, you sit down, you listen to a great singer. She's got that Sarah Vaughan kind of voice, you know, that kind of romances you and seduces you. And I like this album. I don't like it as much, I think, as Rapture.
Well, no, you know, Sarah Vaughan is one of her idols. Ella Fitzgerald, all the classic old-time jazz singers, you know, she grew up listening to and stuff. And it's funny because her personality is really refreshing. She's very natural and very uninhibited. You know, she didn't even want to put on a dress, a nice dress, to take one of her album cover pictures. You know, she felt like it wasn't her. She goes barefoot everywhere. You know, she's like 5 feet or whatever of just this kind of natural talent.
Right.
And
yes.
what you were saying, I agree with.
And so, you gave it a rating of?
Well, yeah, I think Rapture was a stronger album. I really didn't think Rapture's material was outstanding either. I mean, it was good, but basically Anita Baker could take, you know, the Mickey Mouse song or whatever and make it sound great. She could do any kind of jingle, whatever. Her voice just makes anything stand out and sound good. I don't think the material is that good. And so her new album, Anita Baker, Giving You the Best That I Got, on our disc rating system, 1 to 4 discs, 4 being best, I give it a rating of 2 discs.
Well, Scott, I'm going to give it a rating a little bit better than that. I think that even though it's not as strong, it also embodies wonderful music, the kind of music that's coming back into the mainstream. And so I'm going to give it a rating of 3.
3, huh?
Yeah.
Would you give Rapture 4?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I did.
You would?
I like the music in Rapture.
Well, okay, so.
So now we're going to be listening to Cameo. Those of you that have heard of Cameo, you've heard of their album called Alligator Woman, and they also did Flirt. You know of them last year, I believe, when they did a new album called Word Up, which was a big hit for them. Now they've got another one called Machismo. You think of that male, strong, male chauvinist attitude. So we're going to hear the first cut off of their album, and it's called?
It is called, it's a single, it's a follow-up to Word Up, sounds very much like it. Typical for Cameo to follow up a big hit they have with another song that sounds like the last one. They kind of fall into that rut or habit, if you'd say. This is called You Make Me Work, Cameo. All right, we're back in studio jamming with Cameo, and You Make Me Work. Certainly funky, but I don't think it's one of the better tracks on the album, their new album Machismo, which we're reviewing here. Cameo came up in the mid-70s. Actually, 77 was their debut. They had a huge string of funk R&B hits with I Just Want to Be, Flirt, as you said, Just Be Yourself.
Alligator Woman.
Well, that wasn't a big hit. The album was a big hit. A whole string of them. Single Girls, She's Strange, all kinds of hits. So just an incredible string, and they had gold success as far as sales go throughout their career. 2 years ago with the Word Up album, they caught fire. They finally crossed over in the mainstream. They got a Coke commercial with the Word Up song. It was amazing how they boomed onto the mainstream and finally crossed over.
Well, you know, personally, I think they were doing a lot better when Charlie Singleton was with them, and he's gone out on his own.
Well, he came along in the early '80s. He wasn't there from the inception of the group. They scaled down. They used to have a full horn section. They were like a 10-piece band. They were wild. I saw them in concert once, and they were kind of like Fishbone is now, which we reviewed on our last show. They just ran around. It was chaotic. I mean,
true, everywhere.
And then they scaled down to just a few members. They used outside musicians, and they kind of started using the synthesizers. But on this album, heavy use of horns. In fact, I think the heaviest use of horns on any funk album this year.
Well, I think one of the reasons for the use of horns, horns are coming back in. You know, they're becoming real big. I think people are getting tired of a synthesized sound, and they want to hear real music. And a horn gives you that feeling that it's not just something that's manufactured in somebody's, you know, garage or high-tech building. It's real, deep, funky music, and that's probably why they keep using it.
All of a sudden, what was old becomes fresh again.
Of course.
You know,
it's always like that.
But it's ironic that they cut loose that whole part of the band, and now they have all these studio musicians playing horns, including on this album, Maceo Parker, the renowned. I think he plays sax in just about every album we review here, doesn't he?
I think so.
The Brecker brothers, jazz, horn specialists, and even Miles Davis plays an instrumental track in this album.
We're going to hear the next cut.
Yes, we are. And it is another funky ditty. I think probably the hardest core rhythm track on this album. It's called Pretty Girls. Let's check it out. Cameo.
That was Cameo, and it was called Pretty Girls off of their new album called Machismo. My favorite song on this album is a song called Soul Tightening. It's a nice, hot, funky, down-tempo funk sound. But as far as I'm concerned, this is about the only song on the album that is that's really got any kind of life and reality to it. They did a remake almost of their song called Candy. This song is called Honey, and it sounds exactly the same. It seems like they just substituted one word for another. I don't understand why they do that. Larry Blackmon has the strangest voice of any singer I've heard in the last probably 10 years, and it's just not one of their great albums. It might do well on the black charts, but I don't really think it's going to be that big.
We should say, of course, who Larry Blackmon is. He's the leader of Cameo. Yeah. He plays drums, he arranges, he produces, he is the mastermind. Larry Blackmon is Cameo.
Well, he may be Cameo, however, I just don't think that he's doing albums right now that are really that strong. Personally, I don't think he's done a great album since Amazon Woman. And that was what,
Alligator
82?
Woman.
Alligator Woman, I'm sorry. In 82. I just think they could be stronger.
So what do you rate it?
I'm going to give a rating of 2. Sorry, Larry. Maybe next time.
A rating of 2. Okay, well now it's time to get to the real deal. The real line on this album is that it is one of the strongest funk albums of this year, and I would say that it is possibly Cameo's second strongest album. I agree, Alligator Woman was their strongest album in 1982. The first side of that album, one of the all-time classic funk sides. However, this album, aside from a couple of retreads, like You Make Me Work, which is a Word Up retread, and Honey, which is a Candy retread, the other stuff although maybe not each song is Cameo at its best, the overall package is upbeat and is more consistent than most of their work. They've put out some albums that had one or two decent tracks, and the rest was throwaway trash.
Well, that's kind of what I feel about this album, that it's not throwaway trash, but it's not very strong. It's a mediocre album at best, I think, and I believe if anything is a hit off of it, it's maybe going to be just one or two tracks. I don't really think that you can keep being a success when you have an album and you only get one or two songs off of it. Considering the price of albums these days, I think when people buy them, they should be able to get their money's worth, and I just don't feel that this album is going to do that.
Well,
I want to hear an album that's hot, that's fresh, that every time, every track I hear is strong, and I just don't feel that about this album.
Well, for Cameo, it's damn good, and on their disc grading system 1 to 4, I give it 3 discs. Machismo does have muscle, does have firepower, lives up to its title, and it's going to be in my top 10 for the end of the year.
Well, Scott, we all know what your top 10s are. We're going to now hear some blues, real deep blues, by a gentleman who is basically an albino, I suppose you call him. His name is Johnny Winter. His new album is called The Winter of '88, and we're going to hear a cut off of it. Scott?
We're going to hear A World of Contradictions. This one, before we go into it, very bluesy, represents Johnny Winter as bluesy best. Been around since the late 60s, gone in and out of all kinds of things. Started out with rock and roll with a blues edge, then moved more towards straight ahead I call it electric blues, because he's definitely one of the best guitar players in the world. We're going to check out the first track right now. Yeah, for all you air guitarists out there, I'm sure you were starting to go like this, because Johnny Winter kicks butt on the guitar. That's all you can say. He just signed with MCA. This is his first record for MCA. He had been on individual labels and stuff. He was on Alligator Records, which puts out a lot of good blues music for sure.
He was on Virgin also.
Right, he was on CBS. He's, you know, run the gamut of labels. He is certainly someone who is kind of pushed to the back. I mean, he has a hard time getting airplay now. You know, rock stations don't want to play him. He's too bluesy. There aren't really any blues stations, at least in this area. And, you know, he has a hard time getting airplay. It's a shame, because guitar aficionados, anyone who can appreciate guitar playing, I think, can appreciate Johnny Winter.
I will say one thing about him. Granted, he is one of the best guitar players I've ever heard, and he's played with some of the greats like Muddy Waters and B.B. King, and played blues. For some reason, this album just doesn't strike me. I don't know why. I don't know what it is.
Well, what I like about it is it's a long album. They give you 56 minutes of music on the CD. That is, on the album. There's 2 bonus cuts on the CD, and you know, it's not quite as hardcore blues as his previous few releases on the Alligator Records. Perhaps pressure from MCA. You know, hey Johnny, we'll sign you, but you got to, you know, go a little more mainstream and try to get a hit out of it. That's very possible that that's what's going on. And it's unfortunate if it is. However, his guitar still shines through.
Well, that's true. We're going to hear another cut off the album, The Winter of '88. This cut is called Lightning, Johnny Winter.
We're back. We're back. Just listening to Johnny Winter, the final track called Lightning. A little upbeat rock stomper. You know, Stevie Ray Vaughan's been getting a lot of recognition in the last couple of years, and he's been selling well, and people think he's so great, which he is. But certainly, Johnny Winter, I think really for my money, Johnny Winter is a better guitar player.
Oh, I don't think you can make a comparison between Stevie Ray Vaughan and Johnny Winter. Johnny Winter is a phenomenal guitar player. I mean that's obvious, just hands down. There's no debate on that. In listening to this album, though, I feel like I've been led to the promised land and then sort of dumped in the middle of the desert. You know, the songs come on and they've got a real strong beat and a good opening, and then they kind of fall flat. That's the way I feel. He can play the blues, it just doesn't get to me. You know, when I hear music, I like to feel it, you know, aside from listening to it and picking it apart and what sounds good. I like to feel it, and I don't really get a strong feeling from this album.
Again, this is his first album in 2 years. He's had a hiatus, and, you know, someone like Johnny Winter, you never know. He goes into a hiatus, you know, you may never hear from the guy again. So I was just glad that he put out an album out, you know. I mean, it's like, get something out, guy, you know, let's hear it. Yeah. Certainly with, you know, the demise of Roy Buchanan, who I don't know if you're familiar with Roy Buchanan, certainly a very influential blues guitar instrumentalist who committed suicide this past summer, unfortunately, was another one who was kind of in the Johnny Winter class. They do these tricks on their guitars that, you know, kids and people coming up playing guitars are just awestricken by. They don't understand it. They go up on the tuning, near the tuning keys, and do all kinds of tricks, use that slide. Guitar sounds like a different instrument when they get their hands on it.
Well, probably when they put their hands on it, it is a different instrument. I hope that when Johnny Winter does another album, that it will be stronger than this one. If he's going to put another one out, I want it to be the very best that he's got.
Okay, well, on our disc rating system for Johnny Winter, 1 to 4 discs being best, I give his latest album, Winter of '88, a rating of trace discs.
Well, I'm going to give it a rating of 2 discs. For those of you that don't speak French, that's 2. Now,
thanks for bringing us to a certain, you know, social, sophisticated echelon.
Well, you know, we like to try to be international. We're going to treat you to something really great. We both had the pleasure of recently seeing what I feel is one of the greatest concerts of the decade, if not of the century. That was the gentleman you hear of in purple. His name is Prince. He comes from Minneapolis, as you know, and we got a chance to go see him romp across the stage. Certainly for my money and my time, I think it was one of the most creative concerts I've seen. It was almost like going to a Broadway show and sitting down and watching this fabulous light show and people moving all over the stage. It was amazing to me.
It was certainly a spectacle. It consisted of 2 parts. First part, he did like his dark and erotic and really sensual, sexy material. Then he took an intermission, and the second half he came back and tried to do this more broad sense of love instead of lust. Love of, you know, everything, basically. It was more spiritual in the second half. And what we saw, basically, was a kind of rebirth of Prince. This guy goes through a change like every 2 years. You know, he changes his outlook and his style like we change our underwear.
Well, that's very true. You know, he's growing, though. I mean, he's 30 years old, and he's not the boy wonder anymore. You know, he's a grown man, and he's developing in ways that I think many artists wish they could. He had hydraulics going all the time. The stage would rise. Sheila E's drum set, who was now in his band, would rotate. There was a car that came out on hydraulics that he got out of. It was a wonderful show.
As far as the music goes, he went through, he kind of reconciled his whole career for the first time that I've seen him every time he's ever played here, probably like 8 times. And, you know, he played stuff from his whole catalog, which was refreshing. However, it did get a little annoying when he would kind of slip in a few bars of something here, and he was kind of all over the place, and sometimes seemed to lack a little focus, but that's just how Prince is, very frenetic, very over-ambitious.
The only complaint I really have about the show is that once in a while it lags. You know, he has lag times where somebody's playing basketball. Well, that's kind of fun, but there's not a lot really going on in that minute or whatever to hold your attention and rivet you to the stage, and that's the only real complaint that I have. I get tired and I get ready to leave, you know, and go down and get popcorn or something. But I wish that he had played more than sang, but as always, he's just a phenomenal entertainer.
All right, well, what would you, if you had to rate the concert on 1 to 4, how would you rate
If
it?
I had to rate the concert, hands down, I would give it a 4. I just think it was marvelous. I think it was very innovative.
I would also give it a 4 just because Prince is head and shoulders above everyone else. Even if he has a mediocre concert, he's so far out there that's better than everyone else. So that's going to do it for us. Have a great holiday. We'll see you in 1989. For Platter Chatter, I'm Scott Goldfine.
And I'm Malissia Simpson, and we want to say bye.